Oh, we are back. We are back. We were never dead. We just acted like it. Well, maybe we should prove. Obviously, you know I'm alive. Dakota, are you alive?
Oh, I'm alive, man.
I've never been more alive in my life. Feels good.
Yeah.
Feels good.
Get some.
Oh, feels good. Once again, what happens to be, I would almost call it our new MO. We just seem to fall off the radar for like all of summer. And this year, we pushed it all the way to October before we came back.
Yeah, we left all you guys thinking we were gone, but we're back.
It was a long hiatus. But I did look at when I found little moments here and there where there was a lot of you out there still listening and checking us out. So that was good to see, and we're glad that you were there and still checking out back episodes because we do a lot. We do a lot. We all do a lot. It's important to do. A lot of episodes are just about random movies over the years, and it's not necessarily about up and coming and things like that. So we're glad you're still checking those out. But yeah, on this episode, as we usually tend to do when we come back at the end of summer, we just talk about the summer a little bit. So we're going to go over some of the movies this summer that we thought were good. This was harder than you would think it would be, given that summer movies are known for being some of the big movies of the year. But what happened? This is tricky.
We picked
and I will admit that part of it was there were a few I didn't get to, but I think even putting that aside, this was a rough one.
Yeah, we picked a heck of a time to do this because they just got snow in Rapid City, and we're probably going to be getting snow in our area.
So we're going to talk about a warmer time, time in summer. So what we're going to do is Dakota and I we toiled, we perspired to find the 3 movies each this summer that we thought were the highlights. Were the ones that stuck out to us as like, hey, look at this. There's a good one in there. Here's the diamond. I knew it was in here somewhere.
Yeah, the summer movie season is not what it once was.
Well, yeah. Not in the past few years anyway. I mean, this summer just feels like it was really like it was a big drought.
Yeah.
Just like and maybe that'll affect certain movies like Venom coming up where there'll be so many people just horrendously thirsty for a movie like that it'll just blow up the weekend, whether it's good or bad. We'll see what happens. So
yeah.
All right. Well, so like I said, we picked our top 3. Dakota, do you want to go ahead and do your first one? We're going to start at the bottom and work our way to our number 1s.
All right. Here we go. My movie I've actually been waiting to see this movie for a long time.
Oh man, but it didn't make your number 1 spot though.
Yeah, well, it's Incredibles 2.
Oh, okay.
I was really stoked to see this movie, and I wasn't sure.
Let me just go ahead and spoiler say we'll just kind of co-op this because that's my number 3 also.
Oh, okay.
And then that way we can just. It's not like, well, my number 3. We could just be like, I'll just go ahead and spoil.
Just one and done.
We'll just throw it out there that both of ours number 3 is Incredibles 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. You were most really anticipating this one.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how to. I didn't think the trailer really like got me stoked. I'm like, should I go into this like?
It got you
woo-hoo!
stoked in that it was Incredibles, but I know what you mean. It was still like, but what is this?
Yeah.
Yep.
And I don't know. I feel I almost felt like I had to subvert my expectations going into this.
Okay.
Because in your mind, if you're such a huge fan of the first one, what you're expecting is like, oh, this is just going to be like a team movie like Avengers where everyone is just going to be like out there doing their own thing. Then you realize like there's still a family.
Yeah.
The kids are still kids.
Well, the movie literally picks up 2 seconds
Yeah.
after the last movie ended. Like, literally 2 seconds.
Yeah, great opening, by the way.
Yeah, great.
Part with the Underminer was just fantastic.
Yep.
But yeah, I was really excited to see this. Probably one of the few movies I was like, yeah, it's, I marked it on my calendar. my metaphorical calendar, because I don't.
No, it was his real calendar.
Nobody.
Everybody, let's go. Oh, that's so cute. He has a little calendar he marks. I can't say much because I have like a planner and I usually mark movies in it. So
nerd. I mean,
oh crap! Now I sound like a serial killer. I'm in my planner.
You might want to keep that.
There's so many notes.
30 years down the road, it might come in handy.
Oh boy, let's not open that can of worms. Yes, okay, yeah, same boat. It was, I knew I was going to trample down any little kids that were in my way if it was a sold-out theater because I had been waiting longer than they had been alive to see this sequel. And yeah, okay, so you talked about subverting expectations. Now, I agree, opening, genius way to open the movie. Like, let's just pick it up. Everybody likes that Underminer thing. Let's go with that. What did you think kind of from there, though, like overall?
It kind of slowed down a little bit, and I still don't know what to think kind of how they get Elastigirl basically back into action. I don't know, I don't buy that kind of whole, or I didn't fall for it as hard. It kind of seemed like it just appeared. The movie was obviously really phenomenal. Loved it. Did I think it was as good as the first one, though? Oh, man. No, I didn't. I got to be honest here. It was still great.
Just throw yourself softball questions, why don't you?
I still loved, like I said, loved the movie. Thought it did some really interesting things, but the villain didn't impress me. This was pretty far from Syndrome.
Yeah, I mean, they tried to keep it in the vein of how the villain kind of has a personal connection a little bit. But yeah, it wasn't quite Syndrome level. Because Syndrome, there was like, because of what the first Incredibles was about, Syndrome was kind of like the culmination apex of all of that. And so it kind of made it all. Yeah, and this one was kind of like, okay. I think my biggest thing was, even though I liked the idea of opening the door to all these other superheroes, was that I found them kind of annoying and in the way.
Yeah.
The other superheroes.
I understand where you're coming from.
Like, I get why they thought it was a good idea to have them there. Like, oh, there's this bigger world of you're helping these people be okay with themselves or whatever. But at the same time, I just found them really annoying and in the way from the rest of the Incredibles stuff.
Something that really got me, too, I felt like this movie, at the end, visually, was trying to compete with Avengers. So they felt like they had to kind of go bigger.
Yeah.
Even if it was, I don't know, it seemed kind of tied down. The ending seemed like an hour long. Was that just me, or because they were on that boat for an awfully long time?
I think it was because you're in a location like a boat near the end, but the boat isn't where the whole movie takes place. Yeah, I just felt like it was a really long finale, but really it was because Act 3 is basically the boat, like the stuff that happens on the boat, and so it just made it feel like a big finale. There was a few. I honestly thought some of the action sequences in this movie were like, even though it was a cartoon, I found myself like, oh wow, really getting caught up. Like Elastigirl, the things they had her do with her bike, like through that one sequence, and then the way they use the fact that she is elastic, like how her bike was able to split apart, and I just thought they did a lot of cool ideas that enhance the action because of her abilities, when they first kind of had her going out. And I found that to be like really like wow, this is like the best of what you want out of like a superhero movie in those types of sequences. I liked the character. I thought overall the character developments were good. Jack had a completely scene stealing part. Just the whole raccoon sequence is just like, it was a Pixar short, but within a movie.
Yeah.
It was just amazing. But yeah, and that was the thing. Like, I had so much fun with this movie, and I feel like, and there was so much good about it, and it looked so good. Like they kept that the same look as the original one, but then just gave it a little bit of an enhancement. Like, it's 14 years later, we can make it look better, but still familiar. And so so all of that was just like, this is great. And so like, even the things I had qualms about, I thought the scale still tipped a lot more the positive way for me. And I feel like that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
And it just ended up being a fun movie. Yeah. So I guess, like, if I were to rate this one, which I give the first one, like, oh, God, A to A+. You know, like, somewhere, I just think the first one is just great. And this one I'd probably give more in, like, the B+.
Yeah, I'd go probably the same with you, B+.
So, yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, it was okay. This is confusing. I guess we'll just go to your number 2 now.
All right. I don't think you've seen my number 2. Or, wow, that came out really wrong.
Well, unless you've forgotten to flush, no.
Oh,
sorry, I just
Lordy.
go right to bathroom.
I don't think
humor.
you've seen the film that I have on my number 2. That
Why
is my number 2.
Why is there film on your number 2?
Oh, this is snowballing pretty hard. Okay.
You better just say it.
All right. Hereditary.
I
was
didn't
my
see that.
Top second film of the summer.
Hereditary was number 2?
Yeah.
I thought you said it was good. Oh! Okay, I'm done now. Okay,
All
Hereditary.
Right.
Dakota, explain this for those of us who may not quite understand what this movie is.
Oh, Lordy. This movie has drawn a lot of kind of parallels with Rosemary's Baby.
Oh. Okay, so creepy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when I say that, I mean, it's more of the tone of it is more of a really serious kind of family drama. Like, there's a lot of, you kind of have Toni Collette, who plays, what is it?
Very good actress.
She essentially plays the lead in this, named Annie. She has just recently lost her mother. And kind of over the course of the movie, you find out that they had a really strained relationship. I guess her mother suffered from dissociative identity disorder. For those of you who are like, what the hell is that? Ironically, Toni Collette was in the United States of Tara, who also suffered from dissociative identity disorder. And the character from Split, that's what he suffers from too. It's basically multiple personality disorder. They don't call it that anymore for some reason. But anyway, it's basically the family kind of coming to grips with the mother passing, the grandmother, mother. Gabriel Byrne's in this, playing probably the most stoic role he's played in years.
Oh, well, that's kind of what he used to be known for.
Yeah. He plays kind of just the typical dad that's silent, kind of strict, while at the same time also trying to be a loving husband.
So he's playing Toni Collette's husband?
Yes,
okay.
In the film. Even though I guess there's like a giant age gap between
Well, yeah,
the
that's
two
what
of
I
them.
was just realizing,
Yeah.
because Toni Collette's probably, upper 40s, but he's got to be in his 60s.
Yeah, there's he looks good for his age, I guess.
I just watched the first episode of Maniac, and he's in that, and he looks old. So,
this movie has a couple of younger actresses. Millie Shapiro plays this character named Charlie, and Alex Wolff plays the son Peter. Both of these characters kind of have their own tics, you want to call them. Charlie especially. Charlie, a lot of people kind of are creeped out by this girl. I wasn't so much. More so probably than Damien from...
The Omen.
Yeah, The Omen.
Well, I feel like in some of the marketing material I saw, it's like they were trying to make that girl make you pee your pants just from seeing her in the posters or something. So it's like they set her up to be that, I think, too. Or so people go in with an expectation like, well, she's the pants, make the one that's going to make me wet my pants, or something.
Yeah, I went into this kind of mostly curious because I kept hearing how great Toni Collette was, how great the effects were, just the strong, really overall direction of the film. And that piqued my interest. It's nice finding, besides these big Hollywood blockbusters, the film where it's mostly relying on acting and skills of the director.
Yeah, storytelling. Yeah. Yep.
So that's basically why I saw this. And it was probably a good thing I went to see this in the afternoon. It was a brisk afternoon, a sunny day, and I went to go see it. Yeah, this film starts off kind of mellow with like a really depressing overtones, basically. And then it quickly kind of slowly gets creepy. You realize weird things are happening. I'm really do not want to spoil this movie for anybody, but stuff goes sideways about halfway through the film, and it just kind of goes steadily down.
So, like,
after
let's say, hey, Dakota, I'm so-and-so movie watcher. My stomach gets queasy when things get a little too gory or violent, but I still like to be spooked. Is this the movie for me?
Probably not.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
it goes kind of violent.
It's not
icky.
I don't want to say gory, but there's some scenes in here that even shocked me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just like disturbing.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to
And-
clear it up because I know some people are like, I like spooky stuff, but I don't like the disturbing, violent-y, gory-ish stuff.
Yeah, and I think the reason this movie's scary, and I'm going to kind of compare it to another movie that recently came out, The Nun. The Nun had a lot of jump scares. There's probably only a couple in this movie. The music kind of helps build the tension in this, even when probably about more so than I'd say than your average horror movie. So it kind of really wants you to like keep you on your edge. And Toni Collette, wow, she really, really brought everything she had to this role.
Do you think there's a possibility that nominations could be in her future, or do you think it's going to be hard for a movie like this to be noticed in the awards field?
Oh, you would want to hope so, just because I haven't seen anything.
Because I have
Recently.
the reason I say this is like it's not just like you. I've heard some other like significant critics even say like Toni Collette gives an amazing performance.
Yeah, I don't even know what else I've seen this year besides A Quiet Place from
Like the director?
No, the female lead in A Quiet Place.
Emily Blunt.
Yeah, she's probably the closest one that comes to that I would even suggest would get an Oscar. But like I said, I don't want to spoil this movie because there's some sharp left turns in this movie. I didn't even see them coming. Just very creepy tone all throughout this movie, and I'm one of those people. I'm not really exaggerating either. I kind of see like twists and turns coming, and you're like, saw it coming. Nope, movie's ruined for me. Did not see anything, especially the ending. The ending creeped the hell out of me so bad. Like, I just wanted to walk in the sunlight afterwards for a while. Like, all right.
Maybe go feed some pigeons or something.
But with Halloween coming up, I would definitely recommend this. You know, it's the time. Friends like to get together, watch creepy horror movies. I'm actually going to go there. I'm going to give it an A-.
Okay. A- for Hereditary from Dakota. My number 2 was a little more known a movie, came out in July and did really well, and I think a lot of us were just surprised that it was as good as it was and was even one of the best in the series, and it's Mission Impossible Fallout.
Which is this in the number of the series? Is this number 7?
This would be the 6th one.
Oh, okay.
Because there was, let's see. Wait, I always get confused if there's been 6 or 7 too. That's funny you did that. 3, 4, no, 6.
Okay.
Yeah, which is crazy. It's crazy because basically the reason I remember it's 6 is that I consider holy cow. No, 6.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
It's weird. It's because why I get confused is because there was MI3 and then MI3 after MI3 there's 3 more, which I feel like are kind of a trilogy within themselves. Even though MI3 they play into those characters too, but I really feel like Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation, and then this one Fallout, that those 3 are almost like this a big story arc because these are the first. They used to treat Mission Impossible, I feel like, up until 3, like James Bond, where it's like he would have this ending, and then even at the end of like Mission Impossible 2 and Mission Impossible 3, there was like a girl, but then in the next one that person would be gone or something, and it was always like James Bond, where it's like, oh, happy ending, but then the next one is like, nope, he's alone again or whatever. But what I feel like were some of the strengths of this one is it became. Tom Cruise did things in this movie that were at times like, I think if it were like the beginning, if this were a new series, not called Mission Impossible, with like a new leading guy, you'd be like, this is over the top. But I feel like Tom Cruise at this point in this series, with what he's done, earned everything he's done. Where it's like, I buy this because I've been in this world with him long enough to know that his character has made me think of this as a possibility and reality within this world. And so I feel like why a lot of the things that we work is that, like, Tom Cruise has built a great fan base with this, really plays to what his fans want, and just made it's not just like a fun, like, action ride movie, but that the story that it's telling, and there's compelling villains to it. There's compelling what are theys in this movie, and by what are theys I mean, like, are they bad? Are they good? What's going on? All of that is really compelling through this, and it just made you at the end be like, holy cow. And I think what made it even more shocking was like, this is usually when a series is starting to get really tired. Like, this is when like why did they even make this? You know, kind of like how a lot of people left Fallen Kingdom, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom this summer, was like, what the heck was that all about? You know, like, I don't know how I feel about that. Whereas this is like, I feel like it's like, it still feels like it's fresh and has an energy.
Yeah, a lot of people.
And Henry Cavill was good. It's like, I haven't seen him good in a while, just because I feel like he's kind of stuck in this rut with what he does.
There was a lot of people this summer kind of saying, we need more movies like this. And it's like, what kind of movie is that?
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, copycats of this have always been terrible, because they've tried to do copycats of this. And that's why I'm saying that, like, if you tried to make this movie with someone else, it wouldn't work. But Tom Cruise has built, like, this empire in a sense, and has owned it and earned it and made it real in that world, to where it's like, I'm okay with it here, but if some other guy just because I mean, because basically, if you look at take Skyscraper, for example, the Dwayne Johnson movie that came out earlier this year. Everybody was just like ragging on the poster, even, you know, with how he's jumping and how he would have fallen to his death in physics and blah, blah, blah. And I feel like it's because we don't know him. It's just Dwayne Johnson playing another guy, and then he just is missing a leg because, that adds tension or something. And it's kind of unearned, and so you just end up not buying anything. And so that's why this is smart, and that's why this works and can't really be copycatted in that way. Tom Cruise is just a weird, hyperactive, crazy, smiling anomaly of a person.
Yeah, it is crazy how strong the franchise is, especially considering...
Quite possibly at its strongest. That's what's shocking to me.
Yeah, especially considering the first one, a lot of people don't really... Even though it was huge at the time...
Yeah, it was a big movie when it came out at the time.
It seems like it hasn't aged well, too.
The technology.
Nobody has ever liked 2. 3, it's like... Yeah, it's okay, I guess.
3 is considered what kind of built the momentum again for the next 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But these last 3 have kind of just like ratcheted up to like an 11. And it blows my mind that, you know, there's people like, oh, can't wait to see the next one. And here we are on the 6th one.
Yeah. Yeah, I never, and I mean, I guess Fast and the Furious would be another one that has earned their audience too. they would be another example of maybe this. I mean, it's not the same type of movie, but like where they've done 8 of them. Although people, 8 didn't 8 do a little bit worse than 7?
Well, I think it was they were kind of getting to the jump the shark point.
Yeah,
a lot of people were not digging that movie.
Yeah, and so Fast and Furious is another one where you could maybe point that as to example of like, well, they just kind of kept building and building, and you buy things within their world you wouldn't buy in other movie worlds. But it's just and it's hard for me to even explain the plot of Fallout because there's a lot going on, and so I'm not even really going to try to attempt it because it's just he's on another mission that seems impossible. And what's cool about it is it continues on from like the last one or even the last couple to where you kind of need to know the things that were set up in those and the characters were set up in those to understand where he's at. But it wouldn't be like it's not a absolute prerequisite to enjoy this one, but it kind of is, I think, to fully enjoy this one, and it'll just kind of help you understand this world if you're not familiar. But I don't know, it's weird because Tom Cruise is someone who I don't like him in pretty much any other movie except if there's an MI in the title.
Oh man.
I mean, I'm talking about more modern time. I mean, obviously, back in the day he had a few interesting movies.
So I take it you're not excited for the Top Gun sequel?
Yeah, not excited for Top Gun: Maverick or whatever it's called. No. I'm talking more like, it was interesting to see him do like Born on the 4th of July, where, that's pretty young in his career. He attempted to do this very intense, hard character drama, and that he is pretty capable. It's just that I just don't really usually like the choices he makes or the movies he makes outside of, these Mission Impossibles. This is just a franchise that he's tailored it to his strengths,
which is kind of,
and it's paid dividends.
Which is kind of crazy to say because I remember the reason they brought on Jeremy Renner originally in this series because he's getting fatigued with this movie franchise. We might have to sub him out for someone younger.
Yeah, well, and that was the speculation with Henry Cavill. Yeah. Where it's like, Henry Cavill was brought in to continue it on, and even in the last one, when they brought in Rebecca Ferguson, it was like, Rebecca Ferguson, maybe they're gonna have a women. Every time they always think, a new leader, and Tom Cruise is like, you wish, and he just laughs himself to a crazy stupor in real life, not in the movies. He doesn't laugh very much in the movies. He likes to save his crazy laughing for real life.
Yeah, well, he kind of strikes me as being a really serious guy. Like, I've seen him in interviews.
Except for when he jumped in the air on Oprah and punched the ground. Yeah, he can be.
That was more of a psychotic laugh. Like my ex's, plane just went down with her new boyfriend on the way to their marriage or something laugh. Like that sort of laugh.
Yeah. But anyway, it's another strong entry. I guess we'll see what the future is for Mission Impossible. I guess, but it was just like it was fun. It never dragged. There was good payoffs. There was good callbacks. Just well done, and he had the same director of the last one come back, which has never been done in the Mission Impossible franchise. And
no, that's very true.
And that worked too. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, that was fun. So let's move on to our number ones now. The big old numero unos for our bilingual listeners out there. So Dakota, what do you got for us?
All right,
this is out of this amazing summer we've had. Dakota went through and plucked this one out of this ripe, beautiful bush of raspberries.
I wouldn't say that, man.
Why? You notice I use raspberry.
Yeah.
The Razzie Awards.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
This one was a real juggernaut. I didn't even have to think about it.
Okay.
Little reference for you guys. You probably know what I'm talking about.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
I'm talking about Deadpool 2.
Oh, D2.
I'm going to put this out there. Thought the first one was great. First time I watched it, it was like, oh, this guy is awesome. He's going places. This is a great superhero movie. And then I got to think about it. I had some time to myself.
Once again, you walked around outside, fed the birds.
And then I came back, watched it again. I'm like, wow, this movie has no story. And it looks like Ryan Reynolds was given too much free reign to be Ryan Reynolds. That is
You are correct, sir.
two glaring issues with the first one. That's why I don't think I could call it a great movie. Just because of those two reasons. Too much Ryan Reynolds, not enough plot, no story there. This one, however, it's not so much Ryan Reynolds because they brought in some more characters. Cable being a big addition to this universe. And then, of course, you had the characters from the first one they brought back. Negasonic TJ Warhead. I almost said Cyclops. Colossus is brought back. I was really worried this was going to be basically The Hangover 2. For those of you that remember, The Hangover 2 was basically a remake starring the same people that they used for the first one. And nobody really liked that movie. And I was thinking, oh, please don't be that. Just be awesome. But anyway, kind of this film franchise, I think, got some much needed gravitas. Sorry, I'm horrible with Latin.
It just sounds funny when you're saying a word like gravitas. You say gravitas. It's got gravitas.
Gravitas. I don't know. In the form of Josh Brolin, he's playing Cable. Coming off playing Thanos in the Avengers movie. And he actually does one amazing job in this movie. He's kind of basically the heart and soul of this movie. Marina Baccarin is brought back for this movie too. And honestly, I didn't really like kind of what they did with her character. I'll just spoil it for you since most of you probably seen it. She's actually killed in the first part of the movie. And then, yeah. So Deadpool gets depressed. Wade, whatever you want to call him, tries to kill himself. Tries to move in with the X-Men. There's a blink and miss cameo of the X-Men who are going to be in the Dark Phoenix movie coming out here, which I just thought was really odd because that movie took place in 1992, I think is what they're aiming for. And whereas we're obviously in 2018. But yeah, kind of not much of a story here. Deadpool, through some kind of hijinks, along with this kid that goes by the name Firestarter, gets sent to this mutant prison. That's where Cable shows up. He is actually from the future. And you find out that this kid, he calls himself Firestarter. You find out that he actually becomes a supervillain. Pretty powerful one who's killed a lot of people. So Cable's come back in time to basically kill him.
It's the Terminator.
Yeah, and oh, good Lord, there's a reference to that in there too. Yeah, this movie I think is just great simply because of the fact that I feel like the director was able to kind of tone back Ryan Reynolds a little bit. He still does there's still way too many references, pop culture references in this movie, which is something that can get a little annoying. But the story is a lot better. Who turns out to be the villain, I think, was just great. Finally, we had Juggernaut in an actual live action movie, and I just loved what they did with him. And just to kind of what really, really capped the movie off, in a lot of the marketing stuff, they hyped the X-Force which is, a group of mutants that get banded together. They're kind of like the more rougher side of the X-Men, basically. And in the movie, they're all promptly killed except for Domino. In hilarious, horrible ways. Like, it is something... I could honestly... this probably makes me sound like a sociopath, but I could watch that probably about... for like an hour straight, just on repeat.
Wait, so that whole X-Force thing, they just killed them all?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, because that was like a big thing, and everybody's like, oh, that's going to be the next movie or something.
There's a really awesome cameo by, of all people, Matt Damon in this movie.
What's up with him and cameoing and stuff?
I have no idea, but he's in here. Brad Pitt is in here playing a member of the X-Force. You don't see him, unfortunately, until he's dead or almost dead. And then the joke immediately becomes like 100 times more hilarious because literally if you blink and you miss it, you're not going to see him. This movie has some great action set pieces in it. I feel like that comes from the director. The director of this is also one of the guys that helmed John Wick. So this movie I just felt was so much stronger all around. The ending really got to me, though. It's like you couldn't just leave on a high point. Once again, he references the crappy Green Lantern movie he was in.
Oh my gosh.
And there's 2 references to the crappy X-Men Origins Wolverine movie that had the...
God, you can't let those go, can he?
The crappy Deadpool that was in those. And it's crazy because Ryan Reynolds has had so many crap movies.
That's been most of his career.
I don't know why can't he just let Green Lantern go? You basically, that movie
I think it's because I think he thinks he's playing to who's watching the movie he's in, where it's like, hey, comic book nerds, you all hated my Green Lantern movie.
But that movie just basically ruined the character, which is why supposedly the Green Lantern didn't show up in Justice League. And it's just like, let it go, man. Let it go, or I want to see some selfless, what's some other crappy movies he was in? R.I.P.D. I want to see some R.I.P.D. references.
R.I.P.D. I mean, you just name a Ryan Reynolds movie.
Just Friends.
You can't even name one because they're too hard to remember because they're so forgettable. Deadpool.
Wow. Okay. Way to stoke the fire, Steven.
There's just so many.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why he just can't let it go, and I really hope he does. Because if there's jokes in the second one, he's, I don't know, what's that, flogging a dead horse times 2 now?
Yeah.
But, yeah, that was my movie of the summer.
And so you give it...
oh, wow.
Like, do you give it a higher grade than Hereditary, or do you it's just your favorite of the summer?
It's my favorite. Well, the quality I don't think is as up there as Hereditary.
Okay.
I know that sounds very conflicting, but
no, I get you.
I just derive a lot more out of Deadpool. There's parts where it's funny, it's tense, dramatic, funny, despite Ryan Reynolds.
Sure, okay.
All right.
Well, my number one is a little more, I wouldn't say like abstract or anything like that, but it's a documentary. But honestly, out of any movie I've seen this summer, it moved me in the most ways. It challenged me in the most ways. It inspired me in the most ways. Just every type of thing you can really feel, this movie made you feel, and actually the movie challenged you to basically just feel. And that's because that was the mission of this man, to be okay that you have feelings, but then to also remember that other people around you have feelings, and kind of this idea of just loving people around you and loving yourself, in the midst of that, loving people around you as you love yourself, I should say. And that was Won't You Be My Neighbor?
Yes.
The documentary about Fred Rogers' life, the man who ended up becoming probably one of the most iconic, well-known children's shows in the world when he created Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And this movie really just goes back to his beginnings on who he was, kind of basically where the inception of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood came from, and how it came out of everything he was attempting to live for in his personal life, and him just seeing television as this powerful tool that no one was really, he in his mind, he saw these kids shows on TV during the 50s and things like that, were just dumb, like he just saw it as just dumb and wasteful, just like pies and faces, and just like, and he's just like, here you have this medium that can just reach everyone, and it's being wasted on this when we could be using this to spread this message of love and care and compassion. And that was really just, that right there was just the seed that began this whole journey that he went on. And I just found it so fascinating because they used a lot of archival footage of him talking, in those time, during those times. So it wasn't like even, where he's looking back, through the rose-colored glasses, or he's looking back through more critical glasses. It's him in those time periods talking about where his mind was. And I found that to be very fascinating because there were still moments where they relied on people now talking back on it, and I feel like sometimes those aren't the most credible places because you can revise history to fit your agenda, whereas when you're seeing him talking about it in the time and fighting for things in the time and living it in those moments, it just gives you so. And so it's just amazing. And then you just look at just the things he lived for and who he was on. He wasn't an actor by any stretch. He was even like, here's what was funny is when people would talk about that show, they would just be like, he's this unassuming man. He's not intimidating in any way. He's not charismatic in any way. He has about 2 different voices he can do for all of the puppets. But he drew people in. He drew you into this world. And he was just so genuine. And it was because Mr. Rogers wasn't a persona he was playing. Mr. Rogers was him. And then it got into really even more deeper than that, where understanding some of his insecurities that he still did fight, and a lot of people are close to him speculating on how Daniel Tiger was probably the most pure version of who Fred was on the inside. And so it's just kind of interesting to like kind of wrap that whole thing around all of this, and then just to see all the different people that he cared for over the years who were part of the show and part of his personal life. And I don't know, it was just one of those, it just, like I said, it just moved me and inspired me in so many ways. I was a roller coaster of emotions at the end. I was just a weepy puddle, and I'm not ashamed to say that, because Mr. Rogers reminded me that that's okay. But I just really appreciated seeing a movie like this, and it was so well made. Just the way it was filmed and the way they used these they did these animation moments to when you were like supposed to, when it was like their way of being in Fred's head, and they used these animation moments of like Daniel Tiger representing him. And I thought those were really well done and a really cool way to represent those times. And to see his insecurities in certain times, and to feel like he was a failure, even though everyone on the outside we would look at, we're like, oh, he was achieving so much, and him just seeing where he wasn't doing enough, and so just all of that just playing together, just so well done. But it was, if you've ever heard or seen the documentary 5 Feet from Stardom, it was a documentary about the people who backed up really famous pop stars in their concerts. It's by the same people who made that, and that was a really well-loved and acclaimed documentary. And so just a master, if you like documentaries, masterfully made. And even if you don't like documentaries, this is a pretty easy one to help you get into them, because it's not boring, and it's an interesting just to look at a person's life and journey.
All right. Well, with that being said, let's get down to the meat of the potato.
Oh, by the way, I give this an A+. I won't you be my neighbor. What's the meat of the potato?
Did it go into his time as a Navy SEAL?
Oh, they talked about all those things in the movie and how all these things were just made up about him. Like on how he was like a Navy SEAL sniper, and that he always wore long sleeves because he had tattoos.
Yeah, that was...
And all that. And no, he was just this really wimpy little man who wanted to be a minister. I mean...
I think it's crazy because I feel like people are getting their... our quote-unquote legendary figures confused, because I know Bob Ross apparently was like one of the hardest drill sergeants in the... I think he was in the Air Force, I believe.
The painter?
Yeah, Bob Ross was in the military, and he was stationed in Alaska, of all places.
Wow.
And he said the thing he hated about the military is it made him angry, because he had to yell at people and he had to be mean, which is crazy because you can't see Bob Ross as, "Why, you little maggot, get down and give me 50.
I mean, he was like, there was never any accidents.
Yeah.
Or you never screwed up. It was a happy accident. It's interesting. But yeah, they do talk about all the things that started up about him, and even the bad, even the really bad things about how, that he hated this type of people, or this type of thing, where it was like, it was just kind of these silly, there was just all these like silly kind of accusations or things about him over the years, and what's funny is he never really got combatively fighting against it, and I think it was because it was like he knew he was living genuinely, and so he just didn't, really worry about it. But yeah,
I think it's crazy. I don't know if it's probably in the documentary, but probably one of the most interesting parts of his life is, I can't remember if it was a senator or congressman. They were threatening to take away the funding.
Oh
for
no,
his
that's
show.
That's a big part, because his sons, when they talk to his sons, they talk about how that after that point was when everybody knew who Mr. Rogers was, because that was such a turning point. Him saving PBS, with his like 4-minute speech.
Yeah, the speech is
to
actually...
like this senator who like hated, who like didn't give anybody anything they wanted, and he changed his senator's mind in like 3.5 minutes.
Yeah,
you can find it on YouTube. It's quite amazing. But the documentary's cool because they give you a backstory on that senator a little bit too, and how he's like, "Hey, shut up." You know what I mean? He was just like, he didn't care about anything. It was funny. It was like the whole story of A Christmas Carol in like 3 minutes, where it was like Ebenezer Scrooge was changed by one ghost, and it was Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that story years ago, and from what I remember of it, the I don't know, what was it, senator or congressman? We'll go with congressman. Was portrayed as the sort of guy who was like, he would yell at the neighbor, for not flying the American flag all night long in the rain. Like, the Stars and Stripes still should be flying, even if it's raining. That's against the law. You commie, don't contradict me.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like we get wrapped. But I think what the most important takeaway from that incident is that Fred Rogers didn't change anything about who he was. He just went in there and he said what needed to be said. He didn't point fingers. He just gave the importance of of the tool it could be, and how he was using it, and he gave an example of how he was using it and how it made change. And that senator, just in those little things, he just lowered the defenses of that senator, and he's like, I think you just saved $20 million, or you just won $20 million or whatever he famously says. And so that's just one crazy part of Mr. Rogers' journey. But it's cool to hear more about Officer Clemens and those types of people that were part of the show too, and kind of their journeys of doing that show with him. So,
I didn't realize he was like the voice of the puppets though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, the only two voices. That's what's crazy is we realized at the end of the documentary, he's like, I think he only had one Daniel Tiger puppet, and he just took it everywhere. And you just see these kids hugging it and kissing it, and that thing is just dirty and ratty. It's just funny. And then he'll be in like an interview with another adult, like on a news show, and he'll pull the puppet and just talk to the talk show host with Daniel Tiger. And how that talk show just goes right into this, just talking to the puppet. And I think it's because it's all done so just like Mr. Ed is just so pure. I mean, obviously he was still a man who fought a lot of insecurities and things like that. But in the things he did, there was just such an innocence that it's just mind-boggling in our cynical age, and how important this documentary is right now with how cynical we all are. But yeah, and I think that's really why it just affected me so much too. But yeah, I think with that we better bring this episode to a close, where we drag this on a little too long. But
Nonsense. There's no such thing.
We hope you had fun going down memory lane with us, and we are so excited to be back. Just regurgitating any sort of movie knowledge or facts that come into our head for you, and to talk to you about movies, because that's why the show is called what it's called, because that's what we love to do, is talk about movies. And so we hope you continue to go with us on this journey that is not over. We're back to bring you more and more episodes. And so we hope you keep listening, and thank you for listening. And you can check us out on Facebook. That's the big place to check us out on social media-wise. It's just the easiest one for us to use to communicate things. But we also hope you subscribe to us on iTunes. We put up our episodes on YouTube or any other podcast place that you find us there. Just Dakota Boys Talk Movies. Make it nice and easy. So yeah, we hope you do that. And I think with that, we'll close this up. So this is Steven.
This is Dakota.
See you later.